Okay, so the question is for a student, how to practice intensely. What does intense Krishna consciousness mean for a student? Uh, so, in the face of material duties, material responsibilities, what does intense Krishna consciousness mean? So, intense Krishna consciousness means staying in the association of devotees, attending very solid morning program, and doing one's duties, material duties, centered around association and centered around service. That is intense Krishna consciousness. Material duties should be undertaken in a regulated fashion. There is no point overstepping the regulation limits. We won't gain much by that. So, generally, you will see, generally, like sometimes, so we hear a very simple, this very simple matrix. Like say for example, this very simple matrix we hear. Okay, morning for Krishna, whole day for studies. We get tired of studies, we can take some spiritual break and do some seva. We can follow that. Parayashambhu is a simple formula. 50%. First priority equally to studies and sadhana. And then after that, some spaces there we can do that much seva. That's fine. That's that's good enough formula. Or we hear Bhaktivinoda Thakur's formula of 888. 8 hours for the body, 8 hours for Krishna consciousness, and 8 hours for material duties. So, so anyways, 4 hours is money program only, is it not? 8 hours, 2 hours chanting, Mangalarti 1 hour, and hearing Bhagwatam class. It's almost 4 hours program, is it not? Some plus minus here there. Uh, uh, 8 hours of material duties. So now Bhaktivinoda Thakur's formula becomes immediately applicable, even literally, and to its minutest detail, it becomes applicable as soon as one goes in working life. 8 hours, good enough. Good enough. Nothing else is required. 8 hours can give us everything we need. It's good enough. It's good enough. In a student life, from the spiritual 8 hours, the 4 hours which is there. Now the 4 hours, some hours are for sadhana, some are for seva. So probably one can take some hours of the seva and put it in a study. So that's like okay, it's just like a businessman is taking some money, some of his own money, and he's investing in his business with the hope that he will get returns. So you're investing probably those hours in study with the hope that okay, once I'm in a little stable financial position, then I can continue to practice stably and regularly. That's the idea. That is the consciousness basically. That is the consciousness. So that's the consciousness. But more or less, so this formula is good enough actually. Now we may say, oh, it appears to be a bit less, I want a bit more, But actually, if you see, nobody is able to do any bit more. It's not that materialistic people, जय श्री श्रीताई चांद गोर चांद भगवान की So what time we give for our spiritual nourishment, materialistic people give an equivalent amount of time, to battle against Maya, or to feed some regulated maya so that they can be bit peaceful and now they can focus. They give an equivalent amount of time there. So or to to keep fear under control, to keep the anarthas under control. So worry time, confusion time, bewilderment time, is it not? Low tempo time, See, materialistic people, they are in low tempo. So they need to do some sense gratification to get some tempo high. Otherwise, they don't get that kick to do something. Because the tempo high requires to tempo to go high, it requires something. So they take sense gratification to get that kick. But that sense gratification is like an intoxication. It gives an instant kick. But then, in the integral, you are going further and further down in tempo. Is it not? So materialistic people, they also don't achieve more than this. Is it not? That's the point. So therefore, regulation is very important. So we should not compromise the time and investment to the morning program in association and sadhana. I mean, so morning program is a part of sadhana anyways. And seva can be tuned up and down a bit. That's fine. Okay, so with that, we'll move forward to the next chapter. Okay. So after the Rudra Gita, we are entering the final section in the fourth canto, which is which is the famous Puranjana Upakhyana. So the chapter 25, we start with the description of the characteristics of King Puranjana. So in the last few chapters, this pastime of Puranjana is very vividly described. Yeah, and very vividly described. And this is Srila Narada Muni's amazing expertise of preaching and how he is actually convincing Maharaj Prachin Bari to become a devotee. Yes. Maharaj Prachin Bari was out of track only. Maharaj. Oh, that is because of culture. Just like Daksha also sent his sons to the forest. So Daksha sent Harayashwas, 10,000 of them, and Narada Muni, Narada Muni, showed them the right path, and they all went to the forest. They never returned to the kingdom to become the kings. So then again, Daksha, was very angry. Obviously, he is very serious, and but again he actually, he we got 1,000 more actually, His Daksha is very expert, so 1,000 more he got, like that. And when they grew up to right age, again he sent them to forest, knowing that the epidemics and viruses, of Narada's influence may be around, but still he sent them, because that was the culture, Vedic culture, tradition. In the same spirit, Prachin Bari Maharaj was never had become a devotee till this stage. He had always been a materialistic, sort of pious materialistic king, but he had sent his sons, and his sons happened to become great devotees. And while his sons happened to become great devotees, Narad Muni extended his mercy to the father. So that is the nature of a Vaishnava, So our devotees also, they do children preaching, but after 1 or 2 months of children preaching, they invite the parents to come, They say, okay, let's have art of parenting, So the parents come to hear the art of parenting, But then what happens? The parents take up Krishna consciousness, many of them. So in the same way, Narada Muni is going to preach to Maharaj Prachin Bari by telling the story of Puranjana Upakhyana. Yeah, so when he's the Okay, so question is why in the beginning Prachin Bhari Maharaj is glorified. Actually, in the beginning, Prachin Bhari Maharaj is glorified based on his entire life. So Bhagavatam's introduction to a personality is based on his full life. But in the past time, till this point, he has not yet become a devotee. So he'll become a very wonderful devotee by the power of Narada's preaching. And how did Narada preach? What was that transformation mantra? Puranjana Upakhyana. Very beautiful story. Narad Muni is telling so many details, and Maharaj Prachin Bhari is liking it, and he's saying, "Oh, I want to hear more and more. Oh, wonderful! Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful! I want to hear more and more and more." And at one point of time, he realized, "Arey, he's talking about me only." By the end of the Puranjana Upakhyana, by that time, 6 chapters of Bhagavatam are over. Like that. So this is the beautiful Puranjana Upakhyana. And Narada Muni is telling to Prachin Bhari to behave himself and mold himself, but in such a beautiful way that Maharaj Prachin Bhari is telling, "Wah, wah, wah," so nice, like that. Puranjana. Okay, so let's begin. This is chapter 25, text 1. Maitreya Uvacha Iti Sandishya Bhagavan Barhis Ader Abhipujitaha Pashyatam Rajaputranam Tatraivan Tardadhe Hare Haraha. The great sage Maitreya continued speaking to Vidura. My dear Vidura, in this way Lord Shiva instructed the sons of King Barishat. The sons of the king also worshipped Lord Shiva with great devotion and respect. Finally, Lord Shiva became invisible to the princess. This chapter contains a great lesson concerning the monarchical system in the days of yore. When King Barishat was considering retiring from the royal duties, he sent his sons to perform austerities in order to become perfect kings for the welfare of the citizens. At the same time, King Barishat was being instructed by the great sage Narada about the material world and the living entity who wants to enjoy it. It is therefore very clear how the kings and princesses were trained to take charge of a kingdom. Welfare activities for the benefit of the citizens were aimed at understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The human form of life is especially meant for understanding God, our relationship with Him, and the citizens were happy in Krishna consciousness. For understanding God, our relationship with Him, and our activities in His service. Because the kings took charge of the spiritual education of the citizens, both the king and the citizens were happy in Krishna consciousness. In this regard, we should remember that the monarchical hierarchy of Prachina Barishat comes from Maharaj Dhruva, a great devotee of the Lord and the most celebrated disciple of Narada Muni. King Prachina Barishat was then too much engaged in fruitive activities. Due to performing different types of yagyas, one can actually be promoted to higher planetary systems or to heavenly kingdoms by performing various yagyas. But there is no question of liberation or going back home, back to Godhead. When the great sage Narada saw that a descendant of Maharaj Dhruva was being misled by fruitive activities, Narada took compassion upon him and personally came to instruct him about the ultimate benediction of life, Bhakti Yoga. How Narad Muni indirectly introduced the Bhakti Yoga system to King Prachina Barishat. is very interestingly defined in the 25th chapter. We will see this amazing, interesting example that in the Vedic times, even if the king was completely materialistically oriented, even a most full-on case of a materialistically oriented king, even such a king would not be dead shut when it comes to matters of spirituality. So among all the Vedic rulers, we can say that people or kings or rulers like Maharaj Prachin Bari, they come in the lowest grader. They are the F grade candidates actually. Now, if you see the Vedic, if you compare, because the Vedic rulers, whom will we compare with? We'll compare with Maharaj Yudhishthir, the Maharaj Prithu. So in that category, this this Prabhu comes in the not very high cadre, it's a very low cadre. Prachin Bari Maharaj, or for that matter, you see Chitraketu Maharaj, in his early days, he is also same category, sense gratification. Right? So even they would not be closed or shut. So just like here, although Maharaj Prachin Bari is such a materialistically oriented king, but therefore his whole consciousness fruitive activities, how the welfare will come, how profit loss fruitive activity, but he's not close to receiving Narad money, is it not? He's not close to offering respects and worshipping Narada Muni. And as a matter of that procedure of worshipping and offering respects to Narada Muni, he's sitting in front of Narada Muni and hearing also. Is it not? Same thing you can see in Chitraketu Maharaj's life. Although Chitraketu Maharaj was so much engrossed in material desires, but when Angira Muni came, he was not closed. He offered all respects and worship to Angira Muni, and he sat in front of Angira Muni. And only thing is, Angira Muni was giving lessons which were not sinking in, and he was expressing it's not sinking in because I have anxiety. I want a son. So Angira Muni said, "Okay, so be it. Take a son." Take the son, And we know the pastime. So he was not closed. Is it not? Similarly, Prachin Bari Maharaj is not closed. And although he is a materialist, but still, he wanted his sons to go to the forest. So, the important point here is that you see in this Vedic tradition, these are materialistically oriented candidates, but still their level of thought process is quite good, is it not? So this is what happens. See, why is it quite good? Because although they are materialistically oriented, they have one consciousness, that is they're very dutiful, very dutiful. So that sense of duty is bringing about that prominence of the consciousness of welfare of the citizens. And that prominence of consciousness of welfare of the citizens, it what is bringing about uh, this openness to hear spiritual message. So they are ready for a spiritual message because they know that it is going to bring about welfare of the citizens. Is it not? That's the point. So in the same spirit, Srila Prabhupada reiterates the emphasis of the Shastras on Varnashrama. Varnashrama basically means to give prominence to dutifulness. Is it not? And the sense of the dutifulness will force one to keep his heart open. Is it not? Towards the spiritual message. And that is the beauty and foolproofing of the Varnashrama. So all the Varnashrama goes, may go material. But because the person is obsessed with the idea of dutifulness, that sense of dutifulness will keep one's heart open towards spiritual practices and intake of spiritual knowledge. And that's the beauty of the Vedic tradition, which is summarized by the technical term Varnashrama Dharma. Is it not? That's the beauty. Is it not so amazing? Just like we have seen in our school endeavors, we have seen that there are many parents, they may themselves not be devotees, but owing to concern of welfare of the child, makes them consider spirituality. And although they may themselves not be able to practice many times, but they want their children to take it up. You know? So see how many, we get so many parents who are not who are not devotees, but then they have concern and then therefore they willingly bring their child to a spiritual outlet like ours. Is it not? That we need our children to get good sanskar. Is it not? So you see, why? Because, and in turn, this step will help them also coming closer to Krishna. That's the point. And picking up Krishna consciousness. So why are they not close to the sense of dutifulness? The sense of dutifulness. So therefore, Varnashrama has its place value and it works. Is it not? So therefore, one who is dutiful and responsible, such a person, in due course of time, he'll pick it up. Sooner or later, is it not? He'll pick it up. So Maharaj Prachin Bharishat is very much open to the message of Srila Narada Muni, owing to his great sense of dutifulness. Is it not? And dutifulness is Varnashrama. Yes.
Kids' parents. So they are dutiful. This is actually because they are धर्म का वैल्यू पता है, but other materialistic parents are also there. They think they are doing the best duty to their kids, but they are not sending them to spiritual institution. I think Pratik is also sending his sons for spiritual education, and जो हमारे ट्राइबल पेरेंट्स हैं, they are also sending because this set up as a spiritual education. So that beautifulness, how to be differentiated, because our neighbors will also think that they are doing the best service to their child and like in the cities. Everyone thinks like, they think that parents and they are doing the best to the child, they are sacrificing their life, they are doing everything. But they are missing dharma in that. So that beautifulness and this beautifulness.
Yeah, so okay, so city parents also think sometimes that they're doing the best for the children. That is the question. So I mean, what is the difference? See, the point is the city parents are a bit more intoxicated. And because they are a bit more intoxicated, they are not able to, draw the simple conclusion in life that without God consciousness, it is very difficult to, mold a good character. So, so therefore, a basic threshold level of simplicity in lifestyle is needed to get out of that intoxication, to really understand. It doesn't require one to be a devotee of the Lord. Even a materialistic person who is having a little below, I mean, a little regulated, material orientation, a little bit of simplicity in his life, then he can appreciate this aspect. Is it not? Like there was one devotee family. I met them 3 years back. So they were hearing about our school and Gurukul. But then that time their whole idea was that their child, has to go to some CBSE, very high end, English medium school. Some time back again I met them. In this 2.5 years, they have seen the child growing 2.5 years. And they are saying that the child is getting spoiled out of the hands. So immediately they are able to correlate that, okay, it's not CBSE and high-end education which is needed, but what is more needed is Krishna conscious values. So they themselves are telling me that we want to, put our child there in your setup, because at least he'll get good Krishna consciousness. So now, so these parents are able to realize. So it's not that materialistic people don't see that things are not working out. They do see, but they're not able to connect and take the step because of intoxication. A little bit of simplicity is required. A little bit of simplicity is required. That's the only point.
And sometimes they also don't know Krishna in their lives. They don't have the same perspective.
Yes. Yes. That's the point. So many materialistic parents, they drop their children after some time. They just drop off the case, they're okay. I did whatever I did. Now he will drive according to his own, karma or ways. Like many parents just drop off. They don't persist. To persist required mode of goodness. Person in passion, ignorance cannot even persist. Persistence requires mode of goodness. Real persistence only a devotee can show. What are the example? Vidurji. What a persistence. He didn't give up. Whole life Vidurji is trying on Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra. Sorry. Whole life. Vidurji is trying the case of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra very intelligently escaping all the time. Whole life practically, you see. From the youthful stage till the old age, Vidurji didn't give up. Vidurji didn't give up. So
Hiranyakashipu was also persistent in trying all ways to take his child away from Krishna. So that is.
Hiranyakashipu was not interested in training actually. Hiranyakashipu was interested in sense gratification, his own sense gratification, is it not? So Hiranyakashipu was not at all interested in training and welfare. No, he was interested in his own welfare. So he was needing one, ardent follower. So Prabhupada explains that Hiranyakashipu was very interested in the case of Prahlad Maharaj. Why? Because Hiranyakashipu had full realization that Prahlad was one of his best sons. Hiranyakashipu had many sons, not only Prahlad. He is Hiranyakashipu. He had many sons. But among all his sons, Prahlad was the most promising. Yeah. Even a demon, when it comes to trust, even a demon will trust a devotee. Like that. Huh? He's a demon. He's promoting demonism. But when it comes to the most crucial affairs, the demon will not give it to other demons. So the demon himself doesn't have faith in other demons. That means they themselves don't have faith in their demonism. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So why? And so the example which is said, that's very true. Nawab Hussain Shah, why he kept Rup Sanatan and Anupam as his left hand, right hand? Because he knows all others cannot be trusted. He knew diplomats like me cannot be trusted. We are not trustworthy. We'll breach. Is it not? So, trustworthy devotee. So, that's the point, no? So, Prabhupada explains this, that Hiranyakashipu had many sons and he saw and evaluated all of them. So, even he could understand that all others are these demoniac tendencies. They cannot be a good demon also. To be a good demon requires some devotional qualities. Yeah, seriously. So therefore he was very interested in Prahlad's case. Because he thought that the only qualified person to inherit my kingdom and to take the reins of the affairs of my kingdom is the one and only Prahlad. If he takes up, the stars and the flag of the demons will go high. So this is the point. Who? Actually, the heart of the hearts, everybody knows what is the truth. The only difference is that devotees accept it in the first note only. And the greater a demon is, the more time and energy he will take to accept it. Like that. Like you have seen many times people, they do wrong activity. And more than the activity time, these people are justifying their wrong activity. You've seen many times people are self-justifying. No, Prabhu, I did this, because this was the situation and all that. Got the point, no. It's okay, got the point, got the point. No. So why so much emphasis on self-justification? Why? Because, it's going on a wrong trajectory, is it not? But heart of the hearts, everybody understands. Ye gabad hai. Is it not? तभी तो self justification इतना आता है. Is it not? तभी तो self justification. तो कहाँ से आ रहा है self justification? No. If you have no sense of where you are and what is right and what is wrong, where is self justification needed? Is it not? So many times people justify, no? Oh, actually I was all right, no? Actually I didn't had any intentions, no? Actually everything is all good, no? Actually there is no problem. Actually the problem is you know what is the problem, no? We're trying to do patch up. Yeah. Who? Hiranyakashipu had 4 sons and 1 daughter. Huh? Oh. Oh, he's telling Hiranyakashipu had 4 sons and 1 daughter. Yeah. That's fine. Let's read further. Rudragitam Bhagavata Stotram Sarve Prachetashaha Japantaste Tapaste Pur Varshanam Ayutam Jale. All the Pracheta princes simply stood in the water for 10,000 years and recited the prayers given to them by Lord Shiva. Amazing. The Prachetas didn't say, okay, first we need a flat in Vrindavan. To buy a flat in Vrindavan, let us go to Melbourne and earn for 3 years. then we'll practice bhajan. They just stood in water. Started chanting. I said, who's going to waste time? Very interesting. They just simply stood in water. For how much? 10,000 years. They just stood in the water for 10,000 years. So, what a interesting sense of urgency, isn't that? What a demonstration of such an urgency, right? They just stood in water. For how long? For 10,000 years. Very amazing. Of course, in the modern age, Prabhupada is addressing, one may be amazed how the princes could stand in the water for 10,000 years. However, living within air or living within water is the same process. One simply has to learn how to do it. The aquatics live within water for their whole lifespan. Certain favorable conditions are created to enable them to live within the water. In those days, however, people used to live for 100,000 years. Out of so many years, if one could spare 10,000 years for the sake of austerity, he would be assured of success in his future life. This was not very astonishing. Although such a feat is impossible in this age, it was quite possible in Satya Yuga. So very interesting. Prabhupada is telling, don't get shocked that the princes just stood in the water for 10,000 years. Actually, or any material factor one can adjust to. Only one should know the science, how to do it. So Prabhupada is giving a very interesting explanation here. Hmm. It's not astonishing, and just that one has